The sun hung low over the dusty plains, casting long shadows across the small town of Redridge. Horses whinnied in the distance, and the faint creak of wagon wheels echoed along the empty streets. The air was dry, thick with the scent of sagebrush and the faint tang of wood smoke. Jack Lawson, a rugged cowboy with a reputation for being fearless yet fair, rode into town that afternoon, his boots kicking up small clouds of dust with every step. He wasn't just any cowboy. He had a past full of adventures and a heart that had learned to trust only himself. Redridge wasn't on his usual route, but a letter had summoned him here. And Jack had learned long ago that letters from powerful men in small towns always carried more than just words. They carried consequences. The saloon doors creaked as Jack pushed them open, the familiar scent of whiskey and old wood washing over him. His eyes immediately found the man he'd come to meet, Samuel Grayson, a wealthy ranch owner whose name alone commanded respect in Redridge. Grayson's hands were clasped behind his back, his posture rigid, his eyes scanning Jack with an intensity that made the cowboy slightly uneasy. "Jack Lawson," Grayson said, his voice as cold and commanding as a winter wind. "I'm glad you came." There was no warmth in his tone, only a strict expectation that Jack understood before he even opened his mouth. Jack tipped his hat, keeping his expression neutral. "Mr. Grayson," he replied, "you asked for me?" Grayson nodded, motioning for Jack to sit at a nearby table. The two men faced each other across the scarred wooden surface, silence stretching long enough for Jack to sense that this conversation would not be ordinary. Grayson's piercing gaze finally softened, almost imperceptibly, but the words that followed froze Jack in place. "Jack," Grayson began, leaning slightly forward, "I have a proposition for you. It's simple, really. Marry my daughter, or leave town. That's it." Jack's eyebrows shot up. He'd heard of unusual arrangements before, but this was unprecedented. His mind raced, trying to understand the logic behind Grayson's command. "Your daughter?" Jack asked cautiously. I don't even know her." Grayson's lips twitched into a faint smile, but it didn't reach his eyes. "You will. And it doesn't matter what you think. She's my daughter, and she needs a husband to secure the ranch and its legacy. If you don't agree, Jack, you're free to ride out of town. But know that opportunities like this don't come twice." Jack leaned back, his mind whirling. He had a reputation to maintain, a sense of pride that refused to bow easily, and yet something about the determination in Grayson's eyes made him pause. He had been riding alone for years, untethered, yet the promise of stability and the subtle power of Grayson's influence was tempting. He had faced bandits, storms, and wildfires, but this was a different kind of challenge, one that threatened his freedom, yet intrigued him in ways he couldn't yet name. "And what exactly does your daughter look like?" Jack asked cautiously, unsure if he wanted the answer. Grayson's eyes narrowed, his patience thin. "She's unconventional. Some might even call her unattractive. But I expect loyalty, strength, and a man who can handle her. In the ranch," the words landed like a hammer. Jack felt a mixture of disbelief and intrigue. He had seen beauty in all forms during his travels, but he had never been presented with such a stark choice. Still, Jack was a man of principle. He didn't back down from challenges, even when they were unexpected or strange. "All right, Mr. Grayson," he said slowly, carefully choosing his words. "I'll do it. I'll marry her." Grayson's face lit up, a rare moment of satisfaction crossing his features. "Good. You'll be meeting her tomorrow. We'll have a small ceremony, just enough to make it official. I expect you to respect her and the arrangement. Do you understand?" Jack nodded, though unease still twisted in his gut. He had agreed. Yes, but he couldn't shake the feeling that this marriage would be unlike anything he had ever encountered. That evening, Jack rode out to the edge of town, letting his horse graze while he sat under the fading light, staring at the horizon. He thought about the life he had led, full of freedom and uncertainty, and the life that awaited him, one bound by duty, expectation, and the mystery of a woman he had yet to meet. As the stars began to pepper the sky, Jack couldn't help but feel a mixture of fear and curiosity. What would she be like? How would he react when he saw her for the first time? And why had Grayson singled him out for this strange, almost cruel proposition? Morning arrived with the sound of birds and the faint aroma of baked bread from the nearby inn. Jack adjusted his hat and straightened his coat, preparing himself for the day that would change everything. He rode to the Grayson estate, a sprawling ranch that boasted acres of land, horses and livestock, an empire built by a man who clearly valued strength and control above all else. As he approached the main house, he noticed the garden, meticulously maintained, and the air smelled faintly of roses and earth. He dismounted, steadying himself, and walked toward the entrance, the weight of expectation pressing on his shoulders. The house was quiet when he entered, the polished floors reflecting his boots as he made his way to the parlor. And then he saw her. Behind a delicate veil that covered her face, the daughter of Samuel Grayson stood waiting. She was silent, poised, yet there was something unreadable in the curve of her shoulders, the tilt of her head. Jack's heart beat faster, a strange mixture of anticipation and apprehension flooding through him. He had agreed to this marriage without knowing her, and now the moment had arrived. Grayson's voice cut through the tension. "Jack, lift the veil. Meet your bride." Jack's hands trembled slightly as he reached for the thin fabric, the world around him fading into a blur of expectation and anxiety. As the veil lifted, Jack's eyes widened in shock, unable to process what he was seeing. The woman before him was nothing like he had imagined, yet everything about her drew him in unexpectedly. Her eyes held a secret, a fire, a boldness that defied the words unattractive, and in that moment, Jack realized that this marriage, forced or chosen, was about to change him in ways he could never have predicted. And so began the journey of the cowboy, and the mysterious woman behind the veil, too, people thrown together by circumstance, yet bound by a destiny neither could foresee. With every glance, every word, and every shared silence, Jack felt the stirrings of something beyond duty or obligation. But danger, intrigue, and secrets loomed on the horizon, threatening to unravel everything before it had even begun. The wind whispered through the trees outside, carrying with it a sense of foreboding and excitement. Jack knew that his life, once simple and unencumbered, had entered a new chapter, one that would test his courage, challenge his assumptions, and perhaps, in the most unexpected way, teach him what love truly meant. Jack stared, stunned as the veil fell. Before him stood not an ugly woman, but someone strikingly beautiful, with eyes that seemed to pierce his soul. His mind raced. Grayson had lied, yet her gaze held no malice, only calm strength. Over the following days, Jack discovered her wit, courage, and heart, realizing love could bloom even in forced circumstances. Together, they faced the ranch's challenges, their bond growing stronger, turning an unexpected marriage into a life-changing adventure.